Oh, good Lord. Look at these batteries. I've absolutely had it. Quite comical, really. This really, oh dear me, look at, oh hello. There's the spring. Gosh, okay, we've got some work to do here, haven't we? Well, hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for joining me. So today we're looking at the Sanyo personal stereo, and this one is the M-G7SP. Very simple unit from the 1980s. Literally just has the 3 transport controls on there: play, fast forward and stop and eject. So quite simple on the face of it. Left and right volume controls and a single headphone out. No radio, no graphic equalizer, and about as simple as it gets, really. Now, I bought this unit as not working, and I bought it online. They'd said it was broken, didn't work. So I thought, well, let's have a look today to see if we can A, get it running, and B, just kind of give it a bit of a polish up and a bit of a clean, see if we can give it a new lease of life. So that's today's little job. So the first thing I want to do is give it a cursory look over, and weirdly, even just sort of rolling it around, give it a bit of a shake, make sure there's no obvious broken mechanism parts. The buttons, let's have a look: play, stop, fast forward. Yep, that's fine. The ejector doesn't work without the tape, because what it does is that presses the lever inside, which forces the tape up, and then obviously the lid. So that's how that works. Good. So we know the transport mechanisms seem to work. So if we go to put some batteries in now, battery compartment just on the back there. Now on the face of it, it looks fairly grotty, I have to say. The springs look okay, but some of these contacts have definitely seen better days. So it looks on the face of it like it takes 2 batteries there. So we won't try that yet, but I do notice if we look on the DC in, it says 6 volts. I don't know if you can read that there. Now 6 volts obviously means 4 batteries, and we've got a negative tip on there. So here's the thing then. It sounds like the previous owner said that they tried batteries in it and it didn't work. I suspect they've put 2 batteries in and not realised the hidden secret with this. Aha, and there we go. There's the offending articles right there. The state of those. Crikey. So, yep, there's all the dried crystal in there from the batteries. So that's a mess. The contacts inside are horrible, and that's definitely corroded. And yeah, look at the state of those. Crikey. Wow. Now we've seen some that's some corrosion. I haven't seen anything like that in quite some while. So I think what's happened is, at some point, someone's probably put these away or sold the unit on, and the new owner's not realised it takes 4 batteries instead of just 2. So for sure we'll sort that out. You can see it's leaving this residue all over my fingers and everything else. Right, okay. However, so we know the batteries aren't going to work until we've given it a good clean. So let's get a DC adapter in there and just see if we can actually get some power to the unit that way. Okay, so we've got 6 volts DC, and it's a negative tip, which I've just confirmed before I put this in. So hopefully with some power behind it, let's see what happens if we press play. And there it is. And there's some fair resistance as well on the spindle, so the belt seems pretty good. Stop, fast forward. Yep, that all works, which is great news. Okay then, next job, let's put a tape in and see if the headphones work. Well, what I've done is I've actually got some little old speakers here, old Sanyo personal stereo speakers. So, what better way to check than that? So we'll get those in, and we'll plug the headphone socket in and press play. Here we go. Okay, well there's sound coming out, but only out of one channel. So, let's have a look. I'm just going to mess with the headphone socket now. Yep, now we've got both. And then, now we've lost one. So it seems like we've got an issue with the pins on the headphone socket potentially. Yeah, if I just put it in partially, we've got both channels, and then when I plug it in all the way, we lose one of the channels and keep the other one. So it seems like we've probably got an issue with the headphone jack socket itself, either maybe a bent pin in there or a dry joint inside on the board. So first thing then, I think, is we'll take it apart and see what it looks like inside. Okay, this should be a fairly simple exercise. We'll just take the power away for a second and unplug the headphone socket. Okay, so here's the unit itself, and we'll take the cassette out while we're working on it. And we've got just 3 screws on this one, so we'll just move that into shot there. So we should have just the 3 screws. So we've got 1 there, 2, and 1 at the bottom. Now, for a change, this one doesn't have one going through the battery compartment, but I think that's because we have the removable battery compartment, so that will explain why the 3 screws are readily accessible on the back. Okay, so there, you'll put the 3 screws safely to one side, and it should just unpop. There we go. So no antennas or anything required there to detach or anything like that. So that's just the back cover. So we can put that to one side as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the board. Zoom back in a little bit. So we've got the shield there. We can see the belt, and the belt itself looks in pretty good condition, to be honest. You can hear how springy it is. It's flexible. There doesn't appear to be any trace of gunk or kind of pick up on the spindle there, so that's good news. I think the belt itself will be okay. But let's just dig into this and see what we've got. So we've got a screw here which holds the shield on. So we'll just put that to one side. And that leaves us with the circuit board here. And okay, as easy as that, the board is loose. So you could, if you wanted to, actually change the belt really easily from there. It'd be a very simple case of just getting some tweezers in there and changing the belt. You can see how easy that is to get to. However, I think what we will do is just have a look at this board. So I think we'll desolder. Where is it stuck? It looks like it's the switch wires. So what we'll do is we'll just desolder them, peel the board back, and have a good look while we're here. So I'm just going to have a look now at what to unpick. It actually looks like, yes, we've got the 2 to the switch here, but we've also got 3 on the board here, which of course are the power supply. So we've got 1 to the motor, and we've also got 1 each to the clips. Now I'm just going to have a quick look here, because we may be able to actually desolder them from here and then give us access to give these clips a better clean, rather than just taking them off the board. So these are pretty disgusting, but if we can, just depends whether we can get them. Yeah, they look like they're actually quite well encapsulated in the plastic. And as we can get to them, my plan was, just thinking about it, I could have got these out to give them a good clean, but actually they're they're slid tightly into the plastic and I don't want to break that. And I can get to them easy enough to clean them. So I think we're just going to go ahead and desolder them off the board. So incidentally, none of this work is actually required for what we need to do, but I thought it might be nice just to have a closer look at the other side of the board whilst it's apart. So I'm just going to mark the bottom one with some black ink there, just so that we know which one of those is which when the time comes. So I'm just going to unpick that one and that one. Okay, fine. And then these three here, we have, if I can just zoom in or not, just going to unpick these three cables. So could be making a bit of a rod for my own back by doing this, because it is rather tiny. 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Okay, so with that done and those unpicked, we can now at least get to the mechanism. You can see how easy it is now to get to the belt if you wanted to. There are 2 belts in fact now. Okay, with those wires detached, we can now get easily to the actual sort of mechanism, and we can see both the belts now, and they're both turning absolutely beautifully. So there's not a problem with those at all. There wasn't an issue with the switch, but whilst we're here, we might as well just run a little bit of contact cleaner through the play switch, just to help dissolve any corrosion that may be living there. But really, to be honest, there's not too much going on in here. Now, if we look at the board though, so here's the actual circuit board from the stereo. I'm just trying to have a look because, well, the first thing I'll do is just going to run again a little bit of contact cleaner on the volume potentiometers. There's actually 2. There's a left and a right. And I just want to clean that up because one of them did sound like it wasn't coming through very well. So we're just going to run some contact cleaner through there. And that should be that. Okay, next job though is to focus on the headphone socket. If you remember, the headphone socket is intermittent, so it could be a bent pin or it could just require reflowing of the solder joint underneath. So we'll have a look at that in a second. So you might not be able to make out from here, but there is a very small metal contact inside the actual headphone jack, just inside there. And I do wonder if maybe it's not making full contact, it might be bent in too far. So I'm going to just put some switch cleaner down there whilst I'm at it. But then also just going to try and pick that metal part out slightly, just to make slightly better contact. So we're just going to try and press it from the outside. And just see if I can tease it out slightly like so, to try and get a better, that feels better. So we're just going to see if that works. And then what we'll do then also is reflow the actual contacts on the back of the board. Let me see if I can show you those. So reflow, where are we on the camera? There we go. Reflow the actual contacts just in case there's one that's a bit dry, that's not working when we actually put the socket in. So we'll look at that in a second. So whilst the board's off, of course, that's the opportunity to wipe down and re-lube any of the mechanism and stuff like that. This particular one is all clean and working beautifully well, so I've left that alone. So now all that remains is to actually solder all the wires back on again. I think I said that there were 3 to come off originally. Of course, it is 4. I left one of the negatives on because I didn't need to get that off to get the board out, but there are technically the four that could be desoldered, but I only needed to do 3 on this occasion. So let's just resolder the cables back onto the board. 1 and he says hopefully 2. And that's why it's important, of course, just to make sure that you've labelled one of them, because those two did look rather similar, to say the least. So now we've got these ones to go back on. So that's the cable soldered back on. We've got the two back on there for the switch. And we've got all 4 present and correct back on there. And that's the 4 cables tucked back around the board and out of the way. So let's go and find some lemon juice or something and start giving this a bit of a clean out. Oh, and I did say I was going to reflow the headphone socket solder as well. So we'll just do that. Yep. Good, well that's reflowed. So if there are any gaps or dry joints in the headphone socket, that should have sorted it. So what we'll do now is we'll just we'll screw the shield back on and then clean the battery contacts. So having reassembled everything, I still couldn't quite get in to get the pins enough on the headphone socket, so I've literally just had to go back in and desolder it, just the 3 points there. And I'm hoping, because I don't have a spare, I'm hoping that I can clean up and bend these pins back into a situation where they can be usable again. As I say, it's really frustrating because I can get, first one channel comes on, then they both come on, and then as it fully engages and locks into place, we lose one of the other channels. So it literally is just going to be a case of the pickup on the on these metal plates here. We've just got to get them to bend into exactly the right place. I think over the years they've literally just been they just get bent, don't they, and you know, in people's pockets and stuff, and they've got to the point where they just need resetting. So we're going to try and see if we can sort that now. Well, unfortunately, and despite my very best efforts, I've not been able to sort the headphone jack out today. I'd literally taken it off, tried bending the pins, cleaning it every which way, and I can literally get it to the point where it will work on both speakers sometimes, and then as it actually engages all the way, it's just not working right. One of them keeps cutting out, so I can't rebuild the switch any more than I've already tried. So I've resoldered it back on, and it is exactly as it was, but at least we know. Honestly, just swapping out that part will be just perfect, so we'll have to keep a lookout for that. But anyway, in the meantime, we can go ahead and clean off some of this horrible corrosion here and sort the battery pack out. Let's at least today try and get this running off its own power, and then at least we know all we've got to do is come back and sort the jack another day. Okay, not to be too despondent then that we couldn't get the headphone socket working at the moment. At least you've diagnosed the issue and we can get a spare one on order. So next thing then, as I say, is let's get these, oh good Lord, look at these batteries have absolutely had it. Quite comical really. This really, oh dear me, look at, oh hello, there's the spring. Gosh, okay, we've got some work to do here, haven't we? So we'll lose those batteries. I don't think they're going to work again anymore, so I think we'll throw those away. Right, okay, let's start having a bit of a scrape. If ever there was proof that we don't go in and do all this stuff first, I think you can see that we've obviously not tried to clean this up. But anyways, so what we're going to do is give this a scrape, get the crystallization off. I'll just move back out slightly. So we'll get the crystallization off, give it a clean as best we can. I've got to say, some of this is scraping off quite nicely anyway. So that'll be a good start. And we'll get a brush on there. And then I think it'll be a case of, good Lord, it really is a mess. Yeah, give it a brush, give it a clean. I've got an assortment of things here now. I've got some freshly cut lemon juice in case anyone fancies, lime actually, that is, if anyone fancies a mojito whilst they're doing this. Copious amounts of isopropyl alcohol. I've got some contact switch cleaner. I've also got some lime scale remover as well. So I think this is just going to be a case of going through this fairly methodically and seeing how we get on. So I'm just going to brush the worst of this off a minute. Might not actually be so bad in the end once we get going. Obviously we've got to try and reattach this spring. Now, what should we try first? Let's go for some good old, actually no, let's go for some Viacal. This is basically for anyone overseas. I'm in the UK, but Viacal is basically a lime scale remover, like a bathroom cleaner. Gets rid of soap and scum and the crystallization that you would find perhaps in your bathroom or your kitchen over time. And it's very effective actually. And you can already see that started to bring up that spring really nicely. So what we'll do is we'll just, in fact, that really has done a great job already. So we're just gonna go through the rest of the contacts and clean those up. Again, just with a cotton bud. You can see the sort of copper, the green discoloration coming off of there. And so that's already working quite nicely actually. Really pleased with that. So we'll just leave that to set a little bit on there. And also whilst that's just baking away, as it were, on there, we'll also do the same on the stereo unit itself. We've got the contacts to clean on there, so we'll just go ahead and start doing that too. And now just a little bit of freshly squeezed lime juice, anyone? So I'm just gonna put some of that, there we go, into a little lid. And we've got some lime juice on there now, so a nice bit of acid. And we don't want to get this all over everything, of course, but certainly won't do any harm, just to clean up the contacts. Actually, there's not much coming off now, so I think we've done a fairly reasonable job of cleaning these up really. So we're just going to carry on doing that for a while. And also, again, just on the battery compartment. So you can see the contacts are coming up nice and clean and shiny. So I think we got half a chance. The only issue remaining really is to make sure that we've got the spring attached on the other side. Got to remember what corner that came from and see if we can solder or join that back on. But you can see how effective this little concoction is anyway, so it's working. Whatever we're doing, it seems to be helping. Okay, so I've just cleaned up the battery compartment and soldered the spring back onto there, which hopefully will do the trick. So what we'll do now is just get the back panel back on, slide the battery compartment in, see if we can get it to run off some batteries. So we're just going to put the back cover back on now. And as before, just a complete reversal of the removal procedure. So we'll just pop these 3 screws into the back cover. Right, so kind of the moment of truth a little bit now is we're just going to see if this battery compartment is going to work. We've just got to remember which way around it goes now. So we'll load up some batteries. They're not the best batteries in the world, to be honest, these, but I'm hoping that between them they'll have enough power. Moment of truth in a minute. So that's that one there, and I believe, let me just check. Right, apparently it's that way round, so we'll drop them in. So the batteries are in, battery cover is on, and all that remains then is to plug the headphones in and put a tape in, and away we go. There we go. Beautiful. So she's working all off her own batteries now. Oh, just getting to the end of the song typically. But anyway, there we go. So we've now got all the power sorted. We've cleaned up those grotty, horrible mess that was left by those old dead batteries. Got it working properly. We've still got the intermittent issue with the jack. It does work on occasion, but we know at least what the problem is. So at least we've diagnosed it. So let's just go ahead now, have a tidy up, give this thing a darn good polish and come back just for the final shots. Just before we do polish up the outside, I've got a Q-tip or cotton bud with the obligatory IPA on there, and we'll just press play. I have already removed the batteries because obviously we don't want this thing to be motorised whilst we're doing this. No point wasting the batteries. So we're just going to make a few swipes across the head there. It is clean anyway, but always worth doing. Also, we just press stop now, and what we'll do is we can get around the capstan just in case there are any traces of any sort of ferrite or anything on there, but it looks pretty clean, to be honest. If we partially press play now, it'll allow us to extend the pinch roller, but without pressing it against the capstan, so we can rotate it. And again, we're just flicking that around. We're swiping the cleaner across the roller, and you can see what's coming off it. It's not massively bad, but we might as well do it whilst we're here. Good, marvellous, that's that little job done. Let's polish up the unit next. Okay, so the usual trick then, what we're going to do just to polish this up is some car cutting compound, like scratch remover, colour restorer, call it what you will, and then we'll finish it off with some car polish. So that's fine. Just a couple of quick cursory notes. On the Sanyo type cassette players, the print is on the reverse of the plastic there, so we don't have to worry too much about polishing that off. But do be careful if you've got any screen printed inks there or any old vintage stickers and stuff like that. Just give them a bit of a wide berth with any polishing and cutting compounds, because you are liable to probably just wipe them off or scratch them off, so just be careful with that. So to that end, we just take a little bit of soft cloth and the merest splash really of cleaner, and we just gently start working that through and polishing away until some of the smaller scratches have gone. And you will notice as you start polishing through some of this, you may find residue of the original plastic coming through. Don't be too alarmed by that. Basically what you're doing is you're cutting through the first or the top layer of the plastic just to start to bring back that mirror finish. And I think now that's pretty much as far as I want to take this with the cutting compound. I don't want to go crazy. We want it to sort of look as new as possible, but we don't want to risk kind of damaging anything whilst we're doing it. So again, we just look after the stickers, look after the prints, any of the silk printed plastic there. And so once the cutting compound has kind of dried off, we're just buffing it a little bit with a dry cloth, and that's that. So the next stage is just to go on and start applying a little bit of polish. So for this one, again, just a little bit of shop towel. Obviously not too much, especially with a small unit like this. And we just literally apply the tiniest amount, really. There we go. Really doesn't need much. It's only a tiny unit, so we just work that into the plastic. Again, just be mindful of the stickers, and we just want to put this on so that it leaves a nice little haze as it dries, and then we'll come back and polish it off in a minute. And then just while the red plastic is hazing up, I'm just going to put a little bit of vinyl cleaner on the black plastic here. Let that soak in a little bit, and that'll wet up nicely, and we'll polish that up in a minute, and that'll add a nice little sheen to the back and just make it look a little bit fresher. And so now everything's had a couple of minutes just to dry off. I'm just basically gonna give it a quick buff with a dry piece of shop towel, and you'll start to see her come back almost like new. So there we go, that's pretty much it. And you can see now that she's looking in much nicer condition than when she started. Obviously the battery compartment is now all clean, and here we have the actual unit, significantly cleaner. Of course I soldered the spring back in there to repair that where it came out. Significantly cleaner, much nicer, working an absolute treat now. So there she is. Okay, it's a couple of days later and the replacement headphone jack has arrived, so we've got that in, and I'm pleased to say that we now have sound, and this is coming through my stereo now just so you can hear it. And if we go to the balance, left and right and both, there we go. So we've got sound. I'll just turn that back off now, but you can see that she's running on her own power, so quite significantly better than it was before with those rather crusty old batteries that you may remember. So fantastic. So basically what we've managed to do with this one is clean the head, check the belts, finally sort the dodgy headphone jack that was on there, but most importantly sorted out that really crusty battery pack. We fixed all that, soldered the new spring, well the old spring back on, and got her running on her own power. She runs on DC as well. And yeah, so she's good as gold now. So that's another one salvaged. So thanks very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a little bit from it as well. And please do subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. We've got loads of boom boxes, personal stereos, 8-track recorders, all kinds of stuff that we're going to be working on. So do please stay tuned, and thanks again for watching. Bye bye.